Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today we are going over the PvE roundtable that was hosted yesterday, February 17th by Ferric. This was entirely about Spellements, asking where the system is going and asking how it's doing. Obviously this is a topic that very much interests me. It's been interesting me for a long time because Spellements are a system, as I've said, that I think has a lot of potential that just really hasn't been lived up to. So today we're going to go over an overview of that roundtable. I got my notes from the Atmoplex as always. Go follow them on Twitter. I'll leave a link below. Basically, they just paraphrased each question and answer. It makes it easier for me to go over it. Basically, we're going to go over that today, go over what I think about each question and answer, and, just have a good time. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so I have them written down in this handy dandy section. Basically, I'll just read them out and then go over my thoughts on each one. So, question 1. Rank 1 and Beast Moon spells are undesirable as well as not valuable to upgrade right now. Any plans to add more branches to them? Answer: yes, it's up to players. They could do it either way. They do want to revisit those rank 1s and 2s, not sure about the later ones in their first pass. They could add a third path or overwrite an existing one. At the moment, just because of UI design, it can only handle 3 branches. They've discussed supporting more than 3 branches, but short term it's just 3 max. For rank 2s though, it's likely they'll add a third path instead of overwriting. They are auditing all progressions of different spellements, although this is a long-term plan. They plan to go in a phased approach to make choices more compelling to give players more agency. Everything is being re-examined, so this is exactly kind of what we want to hear. We want to hear that spellements are being looked into, and the whole system as a whole is being redesigned from the ground up. In this case, spellements are very undesirable. There's no real reason to get spellements in this game. Realistically, there never has been since they've been released. The only reason to get them is to actually unlock most spells, but for rank 1 spells and Beast Moon spells, not important at all. So it's good to see that they're going into it. As for the other parts of the answer, I think having more than 3 branches is interesting. I hope that it doesn't get overwhelming though. That's the only concern that it could have about that. I do like the 3 branch chain, but we'll see what they have to offer. Question 2. When deciding which spells to create spellements for, which do you prioritize and what's least likely to be touched? Right now they're looking at existing spellements and auditing those. Then they'll be looking at how player normally progresses through the game, as spellements could be a major progression mechanic for new users. That's exactly what I've been saying. They'll be examining all the school spells. It comes down to what kind of changes they want to make. Artie is inspecting this through general distribution and such overall, while Ratbeard is inspecting it tactically in where they can specifically place spellements. Again, this is an ongoing process and they'll see what they can accomplish. It's happening both soon and long term. They may also want spellements to feed into Rochambeau. They will all make sense in terms of the big picture. So this is definitely a good thing. Spellements need to be looked at as a major progression in my opinion. It will make the combat feel much more in depth and much less bland. So I do hope that that is what they continue to do. That is a genuinely good idea in my opinion, and I do hope that they place it tactically in good positions, because if we have to farm like really stupid and out of the way bosses for spellements, it's just going to end up being the same system again, but just with a little bit extra stuff. So hopefully they can adjust that correctly. Question 3. Right now there are 4 spellement packs, 3 of which do not have a method of farming. Do you have plans to increase the variety of ways to obtain these if we don't like the current ways? Answer: yes. Artie is creating a loot map to diversify options to acquire spellements, like on the recent Scroll of Fortune. Again, it'll end up being a phased approach. Not every spellement will be acquired in every way, but probably most ways you play the game will allow a way to obtain spellements ultimately. Over the coming milestones, they'll be adding new ways to pursue spellements. They have to make them, integrate them, and figure out how to tell people where to get them. So this is obviously, again, a good thing. We want spellements to be actually dropped and not just from packs. Do you want the community to figure out where to get these spellements, or is there going to be a way in-game to know? Not entirely sure how precise they want to be, still needs to be discussed. There are certain spells and spellements that can be obtained from Beast Moon, but if you haven't played, then you might not even know it's an option. Even if you did, the only way you know is through the community. That's fine, as they just want to guide you in a direction. Once they can instill progression desire though, they want to give some direction as where to farm spellements. It would not be terribly precise, but it would be like, go to Celestia and find it. Some of the ways should be intuitive, as it will become evident what you're supposed to do, for example, once you're in Celestia. So this is actually good in my opinion. I know some people like their hand held, but I personally think in MMOs and Wizard101 as a whole, it'll be more interesting to kind of find out the different ways to go about it. Like, for example, as a player, originally we didn't know where to farm, I believe it's what, Synthonium, is that what it's called, from the new Lemuria world, but then we eventually figured out the best places to farm it over time. I like stuff like that where it's a natural progression, and as a community, we can figure it out as a whole rather than them just holding our hand. So I do like this. What do you think about Spellements exclusive to packs? Packs are an acquisition method, so they'll be available there. They do want to diversify the ways you get them though. That's how they've been approaching it, but they haven't discussed any sort of release schedule. Their goal for Spellements is, imagine making a new wizard in the game, and as you progress, you'll encounter Spellements through questing. Once you do, you'll find out certain bosses drop them and might decide to farm them. Then you may discover they drop in Beast Moon and can play through Beast Moon. You'll be expected to do things and put the effort for it. They also want to keep spells like Frost Beetle more interesting for longer. You should pick up Spellements as you progress through the world and see new Spellements as you progress. Expect Spellement ranks and theming fit for worlds to drop in that world, like Grizzleheim Spellements dropping in Grizzleheim, rank 1 Spellements dropping in Wizard City, etc. This is exactly what I want. I'm glad that they are doing this because this is what I think is most natural and will make this game feel even better in terms of combat, because right now combat is extremely bland, as I mentioned in a video like a few days ago, and I personally don't like how bland the combat is. I think that it's good that they are wanting to diversify that. Spellements will definitely do that and make it a natural progression. Right now, it's not a natural progression. The only way to get rank 1 Spellements even is at a much higher level. So realistically, this is good. This is a good thing. I'm glad that they want to do this. Question 6. Adventure talents on pets can drop Spellements. This system feels good, but also incomplete because of seemingly missing talents. Is this one of the main ways to add more acquirability in the future? Yes, and they'll be adding the other talent soon. The talent should not be activatable in a world where Spellements are not available yet. As a result, it'll expand in usability over time. I don't really get this one because I personally don't even really know what they're talking about. If someone wants to enlighten me in the comments, that'll be good, but it looks like they're, doing some work, so take that as you will. Question 7. How long do you think players should spend getting Spellements? Do you believe players should be able to max out Spellements through normal means? Answer, it's complicated. As you progress through the game, you should be upgrading spells you're acquiring as you move through the game. There has been some timeline on that. For example, they think everyone can agree the timeline for Dragoon Gear was way too high. There are also many factors to consider. If they tune it for multiple wizards, it could feel too fast for single wizards and vice versa. They think you should have something to do in the game until the next update drops. Grind is an activity. The time shouldn't be too short or too long. You're going to be acquiring many Spellements just by playing normally. On one hand, Spellements are important to normal progression in a satisfying way to allow spells to remain relevant for longer. However, if everyone is getting tier 5 just by doing main quests, then they haven't allowed any space for achievement. Some of it should just come from adventuring, others from extra effort. This is actually perfect. This is what I want to hear. I know that some people don't like grinding, and I understand that a lot of people think that grinding takes way too long and things should be easier. But what you don't understand is that this is an MMORPG. An MMO runs off of certain things, and grinding is one of those. Grinding is, as they said, an activity. The game is designed with grinding in mind, and if they just handed everything to you, this game would feel boring and there would be a lack of progression. That is exactly what I think they're going for here, and that is actually exactly what I want to see. Spellements shouldn't feel like they're just handing it out to you. I don't want to get tier 5 Firecat within the first little bit of the game. I want to actually work for it, and I know some people won't like that. Some people don't actually like working to do things, they like low effort, like comfort gameplay, but that's never been Wizard101. Never has Wizard101 been a low effort, low grind game. You actually need to do things, and I think that that's exactly what they want here, and that's actually a good thing, at least in my eyes. So I like this answer. Actually, this is a really good answer to this question. Question 8. Once a player has maxed out a specific Spellement and continues to acquire more of it, or has Spellements they do not want, what should they do? They haven't discussed it specifically yet, although they do know it's an issue. They don't have any solid answer right now and will consider options in the future. So this is fair. I don't really know what they could do. Realistically, they could make it so that you can sell Spellements, but I don't really know how that would work because I don't think you should be able to buy Spellements. Obviously, they're tradable, so if you have multiple wizards, that's good, but otherwise I don't know what they could do here. One thing I would like to point out is that someone commented on my comments that they should have Spellements dropped from Lore Master specifically, and as I mentioned there, I think it's a really bad idea, and this exactly shows why. You're gonna have so many extra Spellements that you don't know what to do with, and you're not even gonna get the ones that you want. So I'm glad that it at least seems like they're trying to diversify it rather than that, because it would be pretty bad if they didn't. Question 9. Spell writing spells are not allowed to be pre-enchanted because you could accumulate many TCs of different paths, which trivializes the choice. That's why they can't be pre-enchanted. What about tier 1 versions though? That may be more of a tech question. That's why they stayed away from rank 3s for as long as they could, because of the fact that it prevents pre-enchanting them. It's an issue, but you could afford carrying a couple extra spells in your main deck. Okay, so what I think they mean here, and I could be wrong, is that they don't want to make it so that you can enchant a spell and then save it and then just accumulate a lot of enchanted versions of the Spellement spells, because it would add way too many different paths. I think that this is fair. This is definitely a thing to at least be concerned about, but I think the simple answer here, at least in my opinion, is just make it so that it doesn't accumulate them. That's my opinion on it. I could be misunderstanding this, but I think according to my comprehension, this makes sense. Question number 10. What was the reason for nerfing Inferno Salamander to 10%? It's just a way to address issues surrounding Salamander. Not all spells can have 20%, and this was a case where it was too much. It was presenting itself as a problem, so they decided to take care of it first before addressing any inconsistency issues with other spells. They also take so long because they prefer players to find solutions rather than just complain to developers. I don't know how much I agree with that last sentiment. Realistically, you shouldn't be looking at players' complaints and going, okay, don't stop complaining, find a thing yourself, when talking about something that is unbalanced or is problematic. I don't think that that's the problem, and I have seen that mentality quite a few times in developers, and I do see that quite a bit. They say, you know, players need to find their own solutions, and that works to an extent. I do agree with that to an extent, but there's only so far you can go, and there's definitely times when developers should step in and actually fix things in their game, at least in my eyes. So I don't exactly agree with that last sentiment, but overall, the rest of it seems fine. I don't really know. Question 11. Event-exclusive balance Spellements seem to drop much more often than other schools. Why? Balance is in a strange position. They should... I forgot to move my wizard and I've been disconnected. So you know what? That's fine. Whatever. Balance is in a strange position. They should be half the drop rate of all other schools, since they have the possibility of dropping every time. They'll check to make sure they're set up correctly. Okay, so basically balance is just buggy right now for Spellements. Are there any new Spellement paths in the future? Yes, you should expect more Spellements since they're fleshing the system out more. However, that is long term, as there are a lot of spells out there and they want to integrate it with normal progression. So I am glad to see that they're doing this first. I would like them to fix the Spellement system first and then add more Spellements, and not add more and then try to scramble to fix it. Definitely that's a good thing to focus on. What kind of spells are least likely to have upgrades? They don't like never ever questions, try to avoid asking them. They would like to say anything is open to changing. They would like every Spellement to have at least 2 paths. There probably are spells out there that won't get Spellements, but it'll be a very long time until they run out of spells to give Spellements to. This makes sense. There's so many spells in this game that could add Spellements to. If I had to guess, I would say things like Feint probably aren't going to get upgrades. Blades probably aren't going to get upgrades. Realistically, obviously that's up to them. Personally, I don't think those spells will get upgrades, but we'll see in the future. Is there a roadmap for when a lot of these changes are coming? In some cases, they know what they can do and accomplish. This spring milestone has a lot of stuff in it, and they're addressing Spellements as a long-term release. Some of the Spellement topics they're discussing aren't just a few milestones, they're very long-term. This could have a roadmap, but it would end up changing. Of course, they're going to start diversifying Spellement drops and adding new Spellement paths, all starting in the spring update, although keep in mind how long-term the rest of it is. So this is at least good. We have confirmation that this spring update, they will start looking into Spellements, and they're going to change Spellements to add more ways to drop them and adding some new ones. So this is good. We're going to see Spellements potentially get a lot of use in this spring update, and that definitely excites me. I think I mentioned in my Wizard101 in 2022 video predicting things, I mentioned that I think in spring update there will be something about Spellements. A+ for me. I got it right. Prediction, poggers. Question 15. What about combining 2 different Spellements into one spell? Weird idea, but interesting. It'll be put on a list or the 2-year plan. So that actually gives us an interesting kind of time frame. It shows that realistically they're planning on getting Spellements done within 2 years, and that is to be about expected. 2024, I would say. What it's going to do is they're going to have obviously the spring update, this coming one, be a major Spellement update. From then on, each quarter update, add a little bit more, adjust stuff, shift things around. I think that that's what their plan is. They're not planning on releasing it all at once, which I think is actually a good thing, because it can give them time to gauge players' reaction and adjust accordingly. Some extra highlights from the roundtable. They're super excited about the direction as it's a major undertaking, and spell writing is a unique progression mechanic which has a lot of potential. Make sure you voice your opinion because they take in all feedback to adjust the direction. Ratbeard affirmed a suggestion on new polymorph spellements for increasing spell pool and health. They would also be level locked so they aren't abused at a low level, so that's pretty cool. We might get some new polymorph Moon School. Moon School won't be memed on, so that's good. Ratbeard also confirms that certain spellements will always be locked to Beast Moon and will never drop through any other way. Anyone who doesn't like Beast Moon and wants to upgrade those spells are out of luck. So hopefully that's not going to be a major portion. I hope that's a very small portion, but it does make sense that there are only certain ways the certain spells drop. For example, like some people might not like farming in PvE, they like only PvP, but they still have to farm for the gear. I think that that's fair that we as players might also have to do other things we might not like, such as Beast Moon. Personally, I don't know much about Beast Moon, but we will see, you know, maybe there's only some spellements there, not a lot. So let me give my final wrap-up thoughts on this. First off, good job, Ferric. You did a really good job asking a lot of good questions. I trusted that you were going to be able to ask the right questions, and you definitely did, and gave us a lot of info that we've been looking for. So A+ job, I appreciate that. And I'm sure a lot of us as a community appreciate that. So give a round of applause for Ferric. That was really good. In terms of the answers, there was a lot of positive things here, a lot of good things, and a lot of things I think are going to make this game much more interesting. You bet that if they actually continue along this line and incorporate spellements into the main progression of the game, I'm going to make a new character to test it out. It's as simple as that. Spellements, in my opinion, seem like a very, very interesting way to make combat seem unique and more interesting in this game. So I am really excited for that, and it seems like they are too. It seems like they are going into this with, you know, excitement and zealousness. It's good to see. I'm glad that we're going to get some spellement changes, and I'm glad that it seems like they're headed in a good direction. Obviously, I can't answer anything until I see spellements and I see how they work, but as of right now, seems like it'll be really good. But that's really it for today. Let me know what you guys think. I am curious to what you think. Do these changes look exciting? Are you excited for them? I'm pretty excited for them. I think they look amazing, but we'll see. We'll have to see. Otherwise, that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Adios.